Before the first light touched the earth, there was a flame. They called it the Dawnfire of Zeus. Not a fire of destruction, but of awakening. A spark born with the first morning. It carried clarity, wisdom, and wonder. Legends say it hides in the folds of the sky. Where night meets day, it waits in silence, not for kings, nor warriors, but for a dreamer, one who walks with curiosity, one who listens to silence, one who hears the quiet language of the world. Now, as you join this story, step into that place, a realm where clouds hum with secrets, where rivers reflect more than water, where even the smallest spark can shape a life. Lean closer. Let the noise of the world soften. Breathe in the hush of dawn. For this is not just a tale of gods and fire. It is the story of the light we all carry within. This is the Dawnfire of Zeus. The stars still sang in the silence of night. Their voices drifted like silver threads through the sky. Each note carried a secret, soft and timeless. Among these whispers, one story returned again and again. It spoke of a flame hidden beyond mortal sight. A flame not meant to burn, but to awaken. They called it the Dawnfire of Zeus. It glowed where night surrenders today. In that fragile space, light and shadow held hands. Few dared to listen. Few still believed. Yet the whisper lingered, gentle and patient. It waited for a heart that could hear. Not the strongest, not the bravest, but the one who wondered, the one who dreamed beneath the stars. And as the heavens hummed, the world below remained unaware. Except for one Kayatsul, one who felt the pull of the unseen, one who would soon follow the whisper into dawn. The world was wide, yet he felt it pressing close. The young dreamer lived in a quiet village where days never changed. Sunrise, work, sunset, rest. Still, something stirred inside him. He was no hero, no scholar, no king. Just a boy who gazed longer at the stars than at the soil. Others laughed softly, calling him restless, distracted. But he did not mind. At night, he climbed the small hill beyond the fields. He lay on the grass, arms spread wide, staring into infinity. It was there he felt most alive, as if the universe leaned close to whisper. The dreamer carried questions no one else asked. Why do the stars sing? What lies beyond the horizon? Why does my heart ache at dawn? No one in the village had answers. And so, the questions grew. One twilight evening, he stayed longer than usual. The fields grew quiet, the wind stilled. Then he heard it, the faintest hum. Not grass, not crickets. Something higher, like a note from the breath of the sky. He held his breath, listening. The sound shimmered, then vanished. But he knew it was real, for his heart leapt with unnamed warmth. From that night, he listened more carefully. Every breeze, every silence, every shadow. The hum returned and faded like a shy secret. He learned to trust it. The dreamer's world began to change. Streets seemed brighter, though others did not see. The river sparkled with hints of starlight, even on clouded nights. He saw not only the world as it was, but as it could be. One morning, he wandered to the old well. An elder woman sat nearby, her hair silver as moonlight. She studied him, as if she had been waiting. "You hear it, don't you?" she asked. Her voice was soft, her eyes sharp. He froze. How could she know? "Yes," he whispered. "The song." She nodded slowly. "Not many can hear. Fewer still follow. You are a dreamer. That is your gift. And your burden." He wanted to ask more, but before he could speak, she rose. "Listen well, child," she said. "The world is wider than this village. The sky holds secrets no book can tell. When the dawnfire calls, do not turn away." Then she left, leaving questions behind her. That night, he could not sleep. The stars sang more clearly. The whispers wove around him like threads of light. The hum returned, steady and patient. It pulled at the edges of his soul. He stepped outside. The village slept, but the sky was alive. Clouds glowed faintly. brushed by unseen fire. His heart raced, not with fear, but recognition. The whisper was calling. For the first time, he did not resist. He let it fill him. He let it guide him. The horizon glowed with the promise of morning. The dreamer understood. Life in the village was no longer enough. Something awaited beyond the familiar fields. Something ancient, something luminous, something only a dreamer could find. He did not know where the path would lead, but he knew the whisper was true, and he was ready to follow it into the dawn. The young dreamer had listened for many nights, following the whispers that seemed stitched into the sky. He had learned to trust them, though they gave no clear answers. They only guided his heart forward, tugging him beyond what was familiar. One evening, as twilight stretched across the horizon, the air shifted. The hum he had grown to know was different, clearer, brighter, closer. It no longer floated like a distant secret. It pulsed, like a heartbeat waiting to be discovered. Drawn by the sound, he wandered beyond the fields, his steps light, uncertain, yet certain enough to keep moving. The world seemed hushed, as though listening with him. The crickets stilled. The trees leaned inward. Even the river near the village flowed in silence, reflecting a strange glow. The glow was faint, almost invisible at first, but as the dreamer's eyes adjusted, he saw it, a flicker among the reeds near the riverbank. It was not fire, nor lantern, nor the reflection of a star. It was something else, something alive. He bent closer, cautious yet unafraid. The light quivered like a flame, but carried no smoke, no heat. Instead, it pulsed gently, like the breath of dawn itself. And then, to his astonishment, the light moved. It rose from the reeds, lifting into the air like a floating ember. The dreamer gasped softly. The light hovered before him, no larger than his palm, yet impossibly radiant. It shimmered in hues of gold and silver, blue and violet, shifting as though it contained the colors of the sky. He reached out, hand trembling. The light responded not by fleeing, but by drifting closer, and in that moment, he felt warmth not on his skin, but in his spirit. It was as if the light carried a memory, one he had always known but long forgotten. "Who are you?" he whispered. The night carried his question, and to his surprise, an answer stirred not in words, but in song. The light sang, not a melody for the ears, but for the heart. It sang of dawn breaking through darkness, of journeys waiting, of fires kindled within. Every note sank deep, and the dreamer felt tears well in his eyes, though he did not know why. The light drifted in a circle around him, as if studying him. It lingered near his chest, then rose higher, guiding his gaze toward the horizon. There, far beyond the fields, the mountains stood tall, their peaks etched in shadow. The dreamer understood. The light was showing him a path. It was calling him beyond the village, beyond the life he had always known. But the thought frightened him. Leave everything? Leave everyone? He glanced back toward the sleeping village, where rooftops lay bathed in silver moonlight. He thought of familiar voices, daily tasks, the rhythm of ordinary life. Yet when he turned again to the light, he felt something deeper, an ache that was not sorrow, but longing. The same longing that had followed him in every unanswered question. The same ache that stirred whenever he looked at the stars. The light pulsed brighter, as if it understood. Then, slowly, it descended to his hand. Though it carried no weight, he felt its presence like a promise, a gentle fire, not to burn, but to awaken. For the first time, the dreamer spoke aloud with certainty. "Yes, I will follow." The light swirled, lifting once more, and drifted toward the horizon. The dreamer followed, step by step, heart pounding with both fear and wonder. Each step carried him farther from the world he knew, and closer to the mystery that awaited him. The dreamer followed the light for many nights. It did not rush, nor falter. It moved with the patience of stars, guiding him farther from the village, deeper into the unknown. Each morning, the light faded into the sky. Only memory remained. But at dusk, it shimmered again, like a lantern rekindled. Each time, his steps grew stronger. One night, the path bent toward a forest edge. Ancient trees stood tall, roots twisting deep. The air carried pine and shadow. cool and still. Here, the light paused. The dreamer stopped too, heart steady yet curious. It pulsed softly, then drifted between the trees. He followed, weaving through the hush of branches. The ground was mossy, his steps almost silent. At the forest's center lay a clearing. Moonlight spilled across it like silver water. On a stone older than memory, a cloaked figure. Saturday, the dreamer froze. The figure was neither man nor woman, neither young nor old. Their presence was gentle, yet immense, like silence before dawn. "You have come," the figure said calmly. Their voice flowed like water, echoing inside his chest. "I have waited." The dreamer swallowed, unsure of words. The light hovered nearby, glowing in reverence. It seemed to bow before the figure. "Who are you?" he whispered. The figure's eyes glimmered with starlight. "Some call me Oracle, some listener, some nothing at all. What matters is this you hear." The dreamer frowned. "Hear what?" The oracle tilted their head, listening. The hum he knew so well filled the clearing, vast and layered. "You hear the song of the world," said the oracle. "Few are born with such ears. Fewer choose to follow. But you have stepped into the song itself." Awe ran through him. "Why me? Why now?" he asked. The oracle's gaze softened. "Because the Dawnfire calls. Since Zeus kindled it at the edge of time, it has waited for one who seeks not power, but wonder, not conquest, but truth." "The Dawnfire," the dreamer repeated. The word felt alive, heavy. "I've heard whispers, but what is it truly?" The oracle's eyes lifted toward the starry sky. "It is not flame, as mortals know it. It is awakening spark, the fire of morning, not to burn, but to reveal. Zeus hid it where shadow meets light, where night bows to dawn. Few find it, fewer carry it." "Carry it?" the dreamer asked. "Yes," said the oracle. "The Dawnfire is never taken. It chooses. It cannot be stolen, only received. It burns not in wood, but in spirit, in you." The dreamer stepped back, stunned. "In me? But I am no one. Just a boy from a village. I've never traveled, never studied. I know nothing." The oracle raised a hand. Silence fell like a soft cloak. "That is why. The Dawnfire seeks not the mighty, but the heart unburdened by ambition, restless for meaning. You are the dreamer. That is enough." The words sank deep, like seeds into fertile ground. He did not fully understand, yet he felt their truth. The longing within him now burned brighter. The oracle rose from the stone. Their cloaks shifted like mist, blending into night. "Your path will not be simple," they said. "You will face silence that feels endless, shadows that tempt you to turn back. But remember, Dawnfire is never far. It walks with you, close as breath." The dreamer's throat tightened. "Will I see you again?" The oracle's gaze lingered, kind yet distant. "When you listen, you will hear me. When you doubt, remember this night. When you stand at dawn, let fire awaken, not blind you." Their form faded into moonlight and shadow. Only the clearing remained. The light hovered near, glowing softly, urging him onward. The dreamer stood in silence, heart full, eyes on the horizon. Now he carried more than whispers. He carried a secret, an invitation, a purpose, a glimpse of Dawnfire waiting ahead. The dawn that followed was unlike any other. The dreamer woke not to the rooster's call or village chatter. He woke to silence, alive with promise. The light hovered near him, no longer strange but familiar. It drifted gently, waiting, as if it understood his choice. He had not spoken his decision to others, but it needed no witness. He rose, brushed dew from his clothes, and faced the horizon. The mountains loomed faint in haze. For the first time, they did not seem far. They seemed inevitable. The dreamer thought of his village. Cottages, bread at dawn, neighbors by the well. He thought of voices that might wonder where he had gone. Perhaps worry, perhaps forget. His heart tugged. But then he heard the oracle's words again. "You are the dreamer." That is enough. This sentence pulsed like a heartbeat. He turned away from the village and stepped onto the path. The journey began quietly, without thunder, or fanfare. Just a single step. The forest gave way to golden fields. Wildflowers swayed under the wind's touch. The air smelled of earth, fresh and new. Every sound was sharper. Bees buzzing, leaves whispering, streams rushing. The dreamer walked as the sun climbed high. Each step was weight and lightness, fear and wonder. Doubt whispered, was he foolish? What did he know of the world? Yet each time doubt rose, the light pulsed beside him. It reminded him he was not alone, and that was enough to keep moving. By afternoon, he reached a vast plain. The grass swayed like an ocean under the sky. The plain stretched endlessly, as though the world unfolded. For a moment, he hesitated. Then he laughed softly. This was the world he had longed to see. Not in whispers or dreams, but with his own eyes. And so, he stepped forward. Days passed, though he did not count them. The sun rose. The moon followed. The stars returned. The journey's rhythm became its own song. At night, he lay beneath constellations, tracing their patterns with wondering eyes. Sometimes voices stirred in the wind, echoes of the oracle, fleeting and soft. Other times, silence filled the air. But silence was alive now, rich with hidden meaning. It no longer frightened him. The path was not always easy. Hills tested his legs, streams chilled his feet, storms bent the grass flat. The dreamer stumbled, tired, longing for rest. But he kept walking. One evening, the sky turned crimson with sunset. The plain burned with fiery light. The glow hovered ahead, brighter than before. It pulsed 3 times, then stilled. The dreamer froze. The glow spread outward, casting a veil across the horizon. Shapes appeared: mountains, rivers, trees, not as by daylight, but as visions written in fire. The light was showing him more than land. It revealed a hidden path. Each pulse traced embers across the earth. The dreamer hushed in awe. The oracle's words echoed. The Dawnfire is never far. Perhaps this was its first true sign. Not only a guide, but a companion. He sank to his knees, grateful, overwhelmed. The plain stretched endless, but not empty. The fire within him stirred. Fragile, yet unbreakable. For the first time he felt not lost, but found. Night fell quickly. Stars kindled above. The light dimmed to a gentle glow at his side. The dreamer closed his eyes, heart steady. Tomorrow would be long, perhaps harder than today. But one truth remained. The journey was not about leaving behind. It was about moving toward the mountains, toward the mystery, toward the Dawnfire waiting ahead. The plain stretched on for many days. The dreamer walked beneath skies that shifted from gold to indigo, from blazing sun to star-filled night. The light never left his side. Sometimes it led, hovering ahead like a lantern. Other times, it drifted near his shoulder, as if listening with him to the silence of the world. He began to feel that silence was not empty, but full of voices waiting to be heard. One afternoon, after hours of walking, he heard something new. It was faint at first, a whisper, soft as breath. With each step, the sound grew clearer. Not wind, not bird call. It was the sound of water. He quickened his pace, drawn forward. The grass thinned, and the earth dipped low. And there, stretching wide across the horizon, flowed a river unlike any he had ever seen. Its waters were dark as glass, reflecting the sky with perfect clarity. The current moved slowly, yet with power, as though time itself flowed within it. The dreamer stood at its bank, awed into stillness. The light hovered above the water, glowing faintly. The river seemed to respond, shimmering in waves of silver and blue. The dreamer knelt, touched the surface, and gasped. For the moment his hand brushed the current, he heard voices. They rose like echoes carried on the tide. Whispers, laughter, cries, songs, an endless chorus of memory. The river spoke not with one voice, but with many. He pulled his hand back, heart racing. The voices faded instantly, leaving only the rush of water. Cautiously, he touched the surface again. Once more, the voices returned. He heard fragments, words that were not his, yet somehow familiar. A lullaby sung long ago, a promise whispered in love, a farewell spoken in grief. The river carried them all. The dreamer's chest tightened. It was as if the water held the stories of everyone who had ever walked the earth. Every joy, every sorrow, flowing together in endless song. The light pulsed beside him, as though urging him to listen deeper. So he closed his eyes, let his hand rest in the current, and surrendered. The voices grew clearer. He began to feel them, not just hear them. A mother rocking her child beneath a fading Sunday. A wanderer laughing as rain soaked his path. An elder whispering wisdom to a circle of wide-eyed children. The dreamer's heart swelled. He realized these were not only the voices of strangers, they were the echoes of life itself, the same life that flowed within him. He was not separate. He was part of this river. Tears welled in his eyes, though he did not weep from sorrow. He wept because the river reminded him of something he had always known, yet forgotten, that every step, every breath, every song was part of a greater harmony. When he finally pulled his hand away, the voices faded again. The river flowed as before, calm and deep, but the dreamer no longer looked at it as just water. He saw it as a living memory, endless and whole. He sat by the bank until the stars appeared, the light glowing quietly at his side. The night was hushed, but the echoes remained in his chest. Even without touching the water, he could still feel them. The river had left its mark on him. As he drifted towards sleep, he wondered if the dawn fire was like this river. Not a single flame, but a chorus. Not only his to carry, but everyone's. Perhaps the fire was not about being chosen, but about remembering they were all connected. The thought warmed him as he lay beneath the constellations. The water whispered softly nearby, a lullaby older than time. And with a steady heart, the dreamer slept. The dreamer awoke before dawn. The river still murmured nearby, carrying voices that now seemed to echo in his very heart. But today, the light glowed differently. It was dimmer, softer, as if conserving its fire. The dreamer frowned, uncertain, but the light pulsed 3 times, steady and deliberate. It was guiding him again. He rose, followed it, and soon found himself leaving the river behind. The land changed beneath his feet. The grass grew sparse, replaced by stone and shadow. A strange hush fell across the earth. Even the wind seemed afraid to stir. The dreamer shivered, though the air was not cold. The light led him toward a canyon. Its walls were steep and dark, rising like jagged teeth on either side. The entrance loomed before him, heavy with silence. As he stepped inside, the world seemed to close around him. The sunlight faded quickly, swallowed by the rock. Only the glow of the light remained to guide his way. The deeper he walked, the stronger a strange weight pressed upon him. It was not the weight of stone, but of unseen eyes. Something was watching. The air thickened. The dreamer's breath came faster, though no danger showed itself. Then, at last, the shadows moved. They did not move as creatures, but as shapes. Dark forms slipped along the canyon walls, twisting and bending. Some resembled people, others beasts, others shapes he could not name. They surrounded him, though none stepped closer. The dreamer's pulse raced. He wanted to run, but the light drifted calmly forward, urging him on. And then one shadow broke away. It stretched across the path, tall and dark, until it became a mirror of the dreamer himself. A shadow shaped exactly like him. He froze, staring. The figure moved as he moved, step for step, but its eyes, dark hollows, watched him with strange intent. The canyon fell silent. The other shadows melted into stillness, as if waiting for something to unfold. The trial had begun. The dreamer stood face to face with himself. Every doubt he had ever carried seemed to rise in that moment. Was he strong enough for this journey? Was he meant to bear the dawn fire at all? The shadow tilted its head, as if asking the same questions. It raised its hand. The dreamer's chest tightened. Then he realized the shadow was not attacking. It was offering. The hand extended, palm open, waiting. The dreamer hesitated. His heart pounded, torn between fear and trust. But the oracle's words echoed in his mind. You are the dreamer. That is enough. He reached out. His fingers brushed the shadow's hand, and instead of cold, He felt warmth, his own warmth, reflected back. The canyon pulsed with sudden light. The other shadows shifted, melting into softer shapes. The dreamer realized they were not enemies. They were parts of himself, his fears, his doubts, his forgotten memories. All the pieces he had tried to leave behind. They had not come to stop him. They had come to be acknowledged. Slowly, he lowered his hand. The shadow self bowed its head, then dissolved into the air. The canyon seemed lighter, as though a veil had lifted. The dreamer exhaled, trembling. But his trembling was not weakness, it was release. He had faced his reflection and not turned away. The light flared brighter now, renewed as if in approval. It floated ahead, leading him toward the canyon's end. The shadows no longer threatened. They now drifted softly along the walls, like companions instead of foes. The dreamer walked with steadier steps. The trial of shadows was not about fighting. It was about acceptance. When at last he stepped out of the canyon, dawn was breaking. The sky burned with gold and crimson. The air felt lighter, cleaner, as though the world itself breathed anew. The dreamer looked back once. The canyon still loomed, but it no longer frightened him. It was part of the path, as he was part of it. He turned forward, the light glowing bright beside him. The mountains now seemed closer, sharper against the horizon. And in his heart, he carried something new. Not only hope, but balance. Not only courage, but the quiet strength of knowing who he was. And with that strength, he walked on. The dreamer climbed higher into the mountains, where the air thinned and the sky felt close enough to touch. The path turned pale, smooth as bone. Gleaming beneath the morning sunday, the guiding light floated ahead, restless, flickering as if anticipating something unseen. The wind rose softly, then stronger, curling around him like unseen hands. It sang low and mournful, yet layered with voices like a distant choir. At last, he reached a plateau where an archway soared, carved into the mountain. It shimmered faintly, as though formed not of stone, but of air itself. This was the Temple of Winds. The light hovered at the entrance, waiting for him to step forward. As he did, the archway opened and a current swept him inside. The walls glowed like cloud lit by dawn, translucent and alive. The floor was not solid, but shifting air carrying him gently. Every stir of breath filled the chamber with whispers. "Dreamer," the voices called, woven into the wind itself. The hall widened into vast columns of spiraling gales. At its center stood a pedestal, formed of living air. The voices questioned, "Why do you carry the Dawnfire?" The dreamer answered steady, "Because it is meant to be carried, not hidden." The winds pressed harder, testing his truth. Again they asked, "Do you carry it for yourself?" He replied, "No. The fire is not mine. It is meant for all." The pedestal glowed brighter, shaping itself into a harp of wind. Its strings hummed before he touched them, alive with music. When his fingers brushed, the temple itself sang in response. Notes rose and fell, weaving melodies both strange and familiar. Flame and wind wove together, becoming one song. The voices softened, speaking once more. "You are not the first dreamer, nor the last, but you are the one who walks this path now. Carry the fire, carry the song, carry the winds." The harp dissolved, its music lingering in his chest. The winds calmed, but never stilled, singing quietly within him. He stepped outside into the bright afternoon Sunday. The wind played around him, lifting his hair, lightening his steps. For the first time he knew he was not alone. The winds would walk with him, carrying his silence as song, and the fire would shine not just as light, but as music for the world. The dreamer turned to the horizon and walked on. The mountains faded behind as the dreamer pressed onward, the guiding light steady before him. Each day the sky stretched wider. Each night the stars burned brighter above his path. One evening, the light led him to a high ridge, where the earth vanished below. The sky deepened into a vast sea of stars, the Milky Way curving like a silver road. At the summit stood a circle of stones, ancient and carved with spirals and constellations. When he stepped inside, the stars above seemed to lean closer, listening. From their light, a figure took shape woven of night sky, with eyes like blazing stars. "I am the keeper of stars," it said, voice like chimes carried across eternity. "You carry the dawn fire. Do you know its place among the stars?" The dreamer hesitated, uncertain, but listened. The keeper raised a hand, and the stones ignited, glowing with constellations. These are not only stars, they are memories, dreams kindled, and hopes carried. The dreamer saw threads of light stretch from the dawn fire into the heavens. The flame was not his alone, it was part of all flames. "You are one among many," the keeper said. "Not alone, never alone." From the sky, a cluster of stars descended, weaving into a silver orb. "This is the memory of the stars. Take it, and remember, your light is never solitary." The dreamer touched the orb, and warmth filled him with recognition. He felt laughter of children, courage of travelers, and dreams yet unborn. The orb dissolved into the dawn fire, deepening its glow with countless voices. "You have listened, and you have learned," the keeper said. "Carry the stars with you. When darkness rises, remember they shine within you." The figure dissolved, but its voice lingered. "Dreamer of fire, dreamer of stars, walk on." The heavens blazed above, alive with memory and fire. In his hand, the dawn fire shimmered with starlight, no longer a single flame. And with steady steps, the dreamer walked forward, carrying fire, wind, and stars. The dreamer walked through valleys where twilight lingered, the dawn fire glowing steady, touched now by starlight. Each step felt lighter, yet heavier, carrying both hope and the weight of many voices. The light led him to an archway of stone, wrapped in ivy, where time itself seemed to ripple. Beyond lay a vast garden, where all seasons breathed at once. Spring blossoms, autumn gold, winter frost, summer warmth. He stepped inside, and silence fell. Even the flame softened, as if bowing to the stillness. The trees bent low, silver leaves whispering. Flowers opened, greeting him with scents of past and future. Statues of crystal lined the paths, yet these were not statues, but moments captured in stillness. A child's first step, an old woman's laughter, a traveler's gaze upon the horizon, each frozen in light. A voice called from within, "Welcome, dreamer." A figure appeared, robed in shifting colors, eyes holding countless dawns and dusks. "I am the keeper of time," they said. "You must learn what time gives and what it takes." The keeper raised a hand. The statues glowed, moments unfolding in joy and sorrow, in endings and beginnings. "Without time, there is no memory," the keeper said. "Without time, there is no hope." The dreamer saw flashes of his own life, his first dreams, his fears, the long road to this place. "Will I pass into a statue?" he asked quietly. The keeper's smile was steady. "All moments become memory, but what you carry shapes what lives on." The dawn fire flared, its warmth answering. The keeper laid a hand above the flame. "It endures not because it never ends, but because it renews." The dreamer saw these moments were not endings, but seeds alive within the weave of time. A silver leaf fell into his palm. "This leaf of memory will help you honor the past, yet walk forward." The leaf merged into the dawn fire. Its glow deepened, breathing with the rhythm of time. The keeper's voice softened. "One day you will choose to hold on, or to let go." The dreamer felt both comfort and unease, the garden humming with unspoken truths. As he left, the keeper called, "Time is not your enemy. It is the soil in which your light grows." The garden faded, but its presence remained. The path stretched wide, the flame brighter than ever, and the dreamer walked on, carrying fire, stars, and the memory of time. The dreamer walked into a valley where the air itself trembled, the dawn fire glowing, steady but wary. Every step birthed echoes, not his own, but distorted voices, sharp and mocking. At first, they repeated fragments of thought, then grew into accusations. "You are not strong enough. You will fail." Dreams fade. The flame wavered as shadows pressed closer, chains of doubt heavy on his chest. The valley led into a cavern thick with echoes that no longer waited for his words. Shapes stepped from the dark fractured selves, twisted by fear, anger, or pride. One whispered hollowly, "You are unworthy." Another sneered, "Dreams fade." Their voices thundered, drowning his own. The dawnfire dimmed in his grasp. He faltered, nearly swallowed by the storm of his own shadows. Then he remembered the wind's song, the keeper's stars, the silver leaf of time. He raised the fire high. "I am not alone. This flame belongs to all." The echoes shrieked, voices clashing in defiance. But his words grew steadier. "You are my fears, but not all of me. I also carry hope, memory, and song." The dawnfire blazed, scattering the fractured figures like smoke in sunlight. Their screams faded into silence, leaving the cavern bright and still. At its heart lay a pool, calm as glass. He saw himself whole, no longer fractured. From the water rose a crystal, pulsing like a heartbeat. He touched it, and it melted into the flame, merging with clarity and truth. The dawnfire now burned with strength, not of denial, but acceptance. A voice lingered. "The trial of echoes is past. You have faced yourself, and remain." Gratitude filled him as the cavern opened into light. He stepped out beneath the sky. The valley behind him hushed. The fire glowed steady, brighter than ever. He had faced himself and endured. And so he walked on, ready for the final paths ahead. The dreamer had walked through wind, flame, stars, memory, and shadow. Each step wove the dawnfire deeper into him. Ahead, a mountain rose so high its peak vanished into clouds. The summit awaited. The climb was steep, steps carved by dreamers of ages past, each carrying their flame. The dawnfire lit carvings along the trail, stories of those who came before, some ending, some vanishing into mist. The higher he climbed, the wider the world stretched below, rivers like silver, forests like emerald. But his eyes stayed fixed on the peak, his flame steady, his heart strong. Whispers of wind, echoes of stars, and murmurs of time walked beside him. At last, he reached a plateau of stone, bathed in endless light. At its center burned the first dawnfire, vast and radiant, source of all flames. The guiding light dissolved into it, returning home. The dreamer stepped forward, his flame answering in kind. A voice rose, steady as earth itself. "Dreamer, you must choose." The flame swirled in dawn's colors. "Will you keep the fire, or return it to light the world?" He closed his eyes, remembering wind, stars, time, and truth. He opened them steady. The first dawnfire flared, merging with his flame, brighter together than apart. Light spilled across the horizon, touching valleys, seas, and mountains. Children waking, elders resting, wanderers seeking, all felt its warmth. The dreamer felt himself expand, a chord within a vast chorus. The flame whispered, "Well done, dreamer. You remain eternal." He bowed his head, not in loss, but in fulfillment. He was no longer only one. He was fire, wind, star, memory, and time. He was dawn itself. The summit of dawn blazed, eternal witness to a flame that would never fade.